Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. Just a bad day of baseball. You enter a day where you have two baseball games. It's like, let's go from 4 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night. You're going to do nothing but sit your ass down on the couch, have the fiance cook dinner, bring it down to you because you're at work, maybe get some mint chocolate chip ice cream a little bit later on in that night when it's the second game, middle way through, right? Like everything's perfectly planned out in your brain on how this is going to be such a phenomenal day. Then by the end, I'm crying my eyes out because I haven't seen any offense because this batting order goes completely silent and there's no action whatsoever. And Marcus Stroman looks like he's a Cy Young winner and you can't do anything out there. Aaron Nola struggled. All right, that fastball was not electric. He started to rely on the off-speed pitches and the changeup and the curveball, which got him in trouble. Nimmo was hitting every pitch he wanted to, and he was seeing the ball way too easily. It was such a dominant performance out of that Mets in the fourth inning. Specifically, you got to be better. You got to be stronger. Spencer Howard comes into the game, and he walks the pitcher and Marcus Stroman. You're hitting batters. I mean, it became full-on embarrassing by the end. And there were some tough moments in the first game as well. I'm just sitting in filth right now, I feel my body just feels disgusting because of the last 7 hours of my life or so where I thought it was just going to be a beautiful day where I am smiling, and it was the exact opposite. It was pain. So I guess what makes sense is starting out with that first game, right? Your offense. Here's your top 4 guys in the extra innings loss to the New York Mets. 0 for 4, Andrew McCutchen, who had a really tough day at the office, and he has been struggling. 0 for 3, Rhys Hoskins. 1 for 3, Bryce Harper. 1 for 3, Alec Boehm. So 2 of 13 out of your top 4 guys. Please explain to me if that's a recipe for success. Now, I have been stressing, give them time. It's so early into the season, and it is, but at the same time, it's time to start moving forward. This is disaster territory. This is unacceptable territory. There's a mix, all right? There's this combination. There's a middle ground here where you might not be in perfect form, but you can't be in flat-out hideous mode. If I see a little something, it's okay. They're not fully swinging the sticks yet, but at least there's something to hold on to. Right now, we're taking steps backwards where there's nothing going on. I thought the Mets were putrid with runners in scoring position. Hell, you can't even get guys in scoring position. And when you do, guys like Roman Quinn, who was begging the umpire, was Joe West in the first game, who sucks, by the way. Hey, it hit me! As he's running down first base. Roman, get your ass back in the box. For you to be that ridiculous. Oh, it hit me! Yeah, that's how afraid you are of being in the box. So anyway, when you finally do get guys in the scoring position, you're taking off, trying to steal third base with 2 outs. So you're making the third out at third, whether you thought it went over the head and went into the outfield with McCann's throw or not. What a boneheaded mistake with Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper up with the meat of your order ready to go. Whether they have been good to that point or not, it doesn't matter. Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper can have that one great hit no matter what part of the game it is, no matter if they're 0 for 2 or not at that point, 0 for 4, 0 for 1, whatever. Whatever they are, they can step up and change the game with one swing. In what universe? Whether you beat it or not, in what universe is it a smart decision? Then we got to hear Joe Girardi afterwards say, oh, he had no issue with it. Joe. It makes no sense. You're being very hypocritical because in Game 2, Adam Hazley's out there allowing balls to drop in front of you. Everyone understands that there's a problem in center field, right? From both aspects, hitting-wise and defensively. And Adam Hazley, that's something you could have said I'm good at. That's something that I can provide for this team. I might not be able to be the best hitter, the most efficient hitter, but I at least can defend. He's all over the place, and he is lost, and he's making poor decisions. His read on the ball, his first initial instincts on whether he's taking steps back or his judgment on where the ball is, he is making all of these wrong decisions right off the bat, literally. As soon as the ball hits the bat, he's moving the wrong way, and it's terrible. For Joe Girardi to defend the steal attempt, which we know he's full of it. We know he's just saying that to have his players back, and then go with, if we had options in AAA, they would be up by now. Don't you see how they're kind of contradicting yourself? After the game, you say, well, if we had another option, it would already be in place. So that tells you what they feel about Mickey Moniak. Whether he had a great spring training or not, they don't feel he's ready. And I'm at the point where you're so desperate, I'd give it a shot. And that's saying a lot considering I was not high on Mickey Moniak. I'm still not high on Mickey Moniak, but he did create a little more juice for himself over spring training, and they still feel this way about him. And Odubel Herrera, they clearly don't see that happening, whether it's for on-field purposes or off-the-field purposes. And then Scott Kingery, same thing. Until he fixes that swing, they're not even going to give it a time of day. So what they see in the minors and what they see with their options is not even close to resonating in their brain. Unless, because we know they vomit out of their mouths when it comes to speaking in front of the media after a game. Maybe it's all lies. Maybe we'll see a move happen rather quickly here or within the next couple of weeks, but until they talk to the players, until they sit down with Roman Quinn, until they talk to Adam Hazley, they don't want to come out verbally and say anything publicly. I don't know. Maybe that's a shot in the dark. Maybe that's me being way too optimistic on a change occurring, but something is clearly off at center field. So, yeah, the team it's like I give them credit because Chase Anderson was on the mound in game one, and you walk, and then you end up allowing a home run to Dominic Smith, who just crushes the life out of this Phillies team, apparently. He's on a ride. Whenever he sees the Phillies pinstripes, he's able to do some lethal damage. But you go down 2-0, and while you really can't find your groove offensively, you pluck away at it and just timely little dinky things that ends up being beneficial. Now, Alec Boehm's stand-up double to start the first inning off when the Phillies were hitting, that's not so much dinky. Or was that the second inning? Yeah, that was the second inning, because the Mets took the 2-0 lead. Alec Boehm gets that stand-up double as he was hitting cleanup, so that makes a lot of sense. He gets moved over to third. Andrew Knapp ends up getting a sac fly, and then Gene Sikora to tie the game up in the sixth inning gets a hustle play, hustle single. Who questions Gene Segura's hustle? Not me. On an 0-2 pitch, just a little dribbler into the infield, beats it out. Like, they're just finding ways in gross, ugly ways, but it's better than not finding them at all. You had the lead somehow, some way. Didi Gregorius ends up putting one over the middle. This is in the eighth inning. Keep in mind, extra innings now you get because of the doubleheader, that is. So after the 7, you go to extras, eighth inning. McCann, he tries to catch a ball, and then he turns his glove and hits his glove. It's a pass ball. You get a guy over to third, and then a dinky little hit up the middle where it was somewhat in soft space, somewhat in a soft area. Because of that pass ball that McCann made an error on, it allows you to score that run. It's crazy that your offense could look that pathetic all game long, but you just do enough. You just do a little bit. Now, there is something to be said. I hate the fact that they're allowing the other team to get a lead early, but they did the same thing against the Braves. They make a statement, and they kind of throw a counter punch as soon as they lose the lead. It's, hey, we're going to get one back, and that's going to establish ourselves. That's going to establish our identity. So we might not get all the runs back within the next inning, but we will just get that one, or we'll just make that one move, or we'll just get that one hit, or we'll just get that one play that somewhat keeps the momentum a little bit there, just keeps the life a little bit there, and they've done that now twice. But, I mean, really, am I going to search here for a little optimism after that dreadful day of losing twice? You started out 4-0, and now you're what? 6-5, so you can see how quickly things change. What scares me, too, is you have DeGrom going up against Eflin on Thursday. So now you have Wheeler going up against David Peterson. I think you can get to Peterson. I said the same thing about Stroman, though, too. And clearly you were having a tough day at the office to see him. Remember, last time you went up against Stroman, I know I'm kind of flip-flopping between both games here, but they all kind of blend in together in this conversation. The amount of ground balls that were in play, and you couldn't get the ball off the ground, and you just couldn't see him good enough. It's like, what's going on here? Look, I like Marcus Stroman. I think he's a solid pitcher in this league. He's a good guy to have on your club. He should not be looking this dynamite where he's cruising through 7 innings. And to have him on the base paths, if you're going to hit him, why aren't you keeping him in for the final inning? Because he's on the base paths with a jacket on? I was just as stunned as Ben Davis there. You're hitting him. You're putting him up to bat. You're allowing him to swing the stick. He gets on base, and now all of a sudden it's time to bring in a closer. It's time to bring in the heat. It's time to go to your bullpen. Like, what are you doing? If you put him up there anyway, now you're telling me all of a sudden it's time to go in another direction? Not that that really matters. It's more of just a ridiculous thing to point out. But there were chances in that game to finish the job off. When Hector Neris got on the bump, by the way, in that 8th inning, he didn't have the greatest defense in the world. There's a problem with this defense, too, by the way, if you haven't recognized it. Now, I love Didi Gregorius, but there was a double play ball that he probably should have done a better job with where he hesitated. He tried to wait for the bounce. Maybe him and Gene Segura, somewhat a little bit of a stutter step to, hey, you're going to go, I'll take it, kind of. It was like a combination of 3 things. It was a hop. It was Didi Gregorius double guessing for like a millisecond. It was Gene Segura going towards the bag as well. And then that forces a double play to then just be 1 out. And that's monstrous. Also, just from Hector Neris' perspective, when Pete Alonso ends up scoring Francisco Lindor, you were actually doing pretty good, Hector Neris, and then you try to challenge him with a pitch that you probably should have went with what was fooling him prior in that at-bat. But I don't know what happened there. I don't know what went into the decision-making on the pitches that you were trying to make, but you had him beat, and you were doing good in one area, then you elect to go in another area, and then Pete Alonso drives it into the outfield. Another crazy thing that happened in that first game. In what universe, when Trevor May is the guy that's in the lineup, and you end up making switches and all, is Francisco Lindor the man that goes on second base? That's a huge flaw in this whole, well, whoever was the last out in the prior inning is the guy that goes on second base to start off the extra innings. I mean, isn't that ridiculous? In what universe does that make sense? Now, leave it to Major League Baseball to allow for that to even happen to begin with. It's frustrating. It is such a dumb thing to see, but when there's a loophole like that, I guess you take advantage of it. I'm not knocking anybody for taking advantage of it. I think it just shows the stupidity of the league, but we're also talking about a league that didn't even inform the National League heading into the season if there was going to be a DH or not. Nobody firmly knew the rules right before the season began, yet we're supposed to expect them to properly, logically approach a new rule and to have all of the rules laid out perfectly for everybody to know exactly how it's all going to play out. Yeah, right. In what universe? What else happened? You did have a chance in the 4th inning. 2 men on, 1 out. I thought you could make some noise. It's a 2-1 baseball game. You're down 1 run. Gene Segura's up in a 4-6-3 damaging double play to end the inning. And there were some spots. There were some spots that you could have got that timely hit, a more of a timely hit, and just wasn't able to execute. Speaking of not executing, I saw Jose Alvarado come in with a nasty slider that you can't touch at all, and then within 1 at-bat, here he is with Conforto up to the dish, and he threw 100-mile-per-hour at his face. And you see them jawing back and forth. And I believe it was Smith on the dugout side of the Mets kind of yapping back. And Rojas was in there as well. And I'd be pissed. I don't blame the Mets at all. You got 100-mile-per-hour all the way through the head, up in the face area. I know Alvarado can be all over the strike zone, and he can show that there's some problems with his consistency. And if he's able to deliver where he wants to, and he doesn't have the best command in the world. But, dude, 100-mile-per-hour, that fast to Conforto's face. And then ultimately, you end up hitting him anyway. Yeah, I mean, whether he meant to do it or not, or the circumstances of this, and why would he put a guy on at that point, I'm just telling you, it wasn't a great look, and The way that Jose Alvarado was chirping afterwards and all, dude, oh, man. Oh, man. But I was so juiced up for that nasty slider prior on an unbelievable strikeout. Here I am tweeting away highlights of him, and then within 1 second, I'm cringing because my man almost takes off Conforto's head and almost murders a human being literally one batter after. Keeping it with the bullpen, Connor Brogdon. Holy hell. He worked himself into a jam, but does he know how to get himself out of this? This is in the 7th inning. Walk, hit by pitch. 0 outs on the board. Very crucial moment in this tilt. All right, and then you got the top of the lineup. So you're walking and you're hitting batters that are at the bottom of the Mets lineup, which turns over to their top dogs in Nimmo and Dominic Smith and Lindor. Well, you strike out Nimmo on a foul tip that was caught by Andrew Knapp. You get Lindor to pop up, and you get Dominic Smith swinging and missing with some beautiful cheese upstairs. There is something in this kid that I love so damn much. I love the velocity. I love everything about his pitches. Man, I love his mentality, too, his approach to the game. I know he was asked before. I think Rob Motti was where I saw this on Twitter, and it was a video of Connor Brogdon talking about, what he is on this team and what his role is, and he kind of approached it like, look, I'm here for whatever this team needs me to be, whether it's a setup man or whatever, but he was just saying, like, look, I'll be what I need to be. But with that mentality, he's wired differently. You got to have a different mentality when you are in that bullpen, and Connor Brogdon has that it factor of that intense moment, when the pressure is on, when you got to come up clutch, where there's guys on base and it's a high pressured situation and there's a lot of stress on you. Connor Brogdon can do it. And to think about what he just did to that Mets lineup at the top of the order when you put yourself into a lot of trouble. I don't love the fact that you got into a lot of trouble, but I sure love the fact that you dug yourself out of it. So a tough day for Hector Neris, that's for sure. I didn't think he was his sharpest. So with Chase Anderson, he's your 5th starter for a reason. He did not start out strong, and quite frankly, he was weird all night long. Like he had a really good strikeout in the 2nd inning for his first strikeout of the game with a nasty changeup, but then he had a really good changeup for a strikeout as well, which fooled the hitter, and he went down looking. But if you saw Andrew Knapp, he was set up high outside as if it was going to be a totally different pitch, but it was middle changeup right in the dish. I remember there was someone on second base too, so I wonder if there were some signs being relayed, and it was like, hey, it's outside, it's probably going to be a fastball, kind of giving the hitter as he was tipping the pitches a bit, like, hey, this is what it's going to be. And when it's a middle in changeup, it's like, whoa, what happened there? Kind of froze me up, and like, hey, you got the strikeout, but you totally were not trying to do that whatsoever. The Chase Anderson was weird, but he's your 5th starter, so you kind of expect weirdness. Ultimately, he kept you in the ball game and did everything he could. He grinded, and with the 7-inning game, when you go 4 innings, it's significantly different than a 9-inning game where you probably would have had him try and grind it out just a little bit more, toughen out another inning or so. That first game was just brutal, though, because if you can't get that win, it puts so much more on you to get that second one. And you would think with Aaron Nola, heading into this, I thought, all right, you got your 5th starter, you got your 1 starter. You're probably going to split, and then you head into the 2 next games, knowing they have DeGrom, but knowing you have Wheeler, where, look, I would love to win the series, but logically, just looking at it pitching duel-wise, and knowing how DeGrom can get 14 strikeouts and still lose a baseball game, anything is possible. I just thought, look, it's probably going to be like a 2-2 type of series, but let's see how it all plays out. Let's see if you can sneak away with some. But to go 0-2 here, it really sets you up for the next 2 games to be really tough. Tomorrow is mandatory, because without that, and let's say you go 0-3, you're going to have a tough time thinking about DeGrom versus Eflin for that 4th game of the series on Thursday afternoon at noon. I don't want to hear the excuse, by the way, that, well, the shadows in the first couple of innings is why you had some of those top guys go up to the plate and swing and miss, and it looked like they couldn't see much. It's no excuse, because guess what? The night game, you looked exactly the same. I didn't see anything different. I saw the same exact problems, the same exact issues. I've seen the same exact issues to this point. So there's no way that you can try and convince me that, well, did you see the shadows early on in Citi Field? Yeah, I saw them. But this team has not been able to see a baseball hit the wood, and they haven't been able to swing it good enough for our liking since the beginning of the season. So when does that factor into the equation? Do you get to ever throw that out there at all? God damn. Jojo Romero, I'm just kind of looking at some things that we kind of had throughout. Jojo Romero did come in and have a clean inning at one point in that first game, but I'll tell you what, it's just frustrating. It's annoying that we are here, and 6-4, or excuse me, 6-5 now? 6-5. 6-5. 6-5. Damn. I'll tell you what put the smile on my face, though. It's not that record. It's my friends over at DeSimone Jewelers. I went to them for my fiance's engagement ring, and she fell over with excitement when she saw the bling almost blind her when I was on one knee. I went back for Christmas, for her birthday, necklaces, earrings. They have everything, and it's flat out amazing. They're a family-owned business with over 40-plus years of experience, and they moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey. They do not use sale tactics. They just show you options, they educate their customers, and they treat their customers like family. DeSimone Jewelers customizes and manufactures every ring they make from start to finish on location. And because of that, they're able to beat competitors' prices. I've sent so many family members and friends in their direction. I constantly get the same reaction back. Wow, Brodes, they're unbelievable. And you'll see exactly what I mean when you go in there and you say, Brodes sent me. More information is down below. I am telling you, I am guaranteeing it. It will be the best experience of your life if you are looking to get your significant other jewelry, whether it's for a birthday, holiday, you name it. You have to go to DeSimone Jewelers. Have to go. And remember, tell them Brodes sent you. All right, so why don't we kind of head on over to the Anytime Hotline and hear the reactions to the doubleheader sweep. Oh, God, it's just so gross to hear. It really is.
Brodes, I had a thought tonight on how we can address the center field situation because I don't know what Adam Hayes is doing in center field, and we all know Rowan Quinn stinks. Like, that's a known thing. Now, what I'm about to say, are the Phillies going to do this? Absolutely not. Would I do this? Absolutely not. But I just wanted to share what idea came to my mind about this whole entire situation. So first we moved Bryce to center. Look, he's played center field in his career before in Washington. Then we move McCutchen to right field. And who do we put in left field? It's Rhys Hoskins, baby. We move him to left field. I mean, Gold Glove defense out in left field. I mean, who would not want to see that?
No, that's where we're at now. We're at the point where we're trying to get Rhys Hoskins back to left field, and I know it was just sarcasm. I know it's a joke, but that's how painful it really is to watch Adam Hastley and Roman Quinn out there. They blow. Adam Hastley, you could have lived on the fact that you weren't the most explosive offensive player, but you can at least be reliable to make the right plays. He's out there like, where's the sense of urgency? Why aren't you attacking the ball? How are you just constantly losing the ball at this point and not being able to track? At least give your team serviceable defense, but now you're an actual liability. You are a legitimate problem out there. So now you don't hit and you're a problem defensively. Please let me know how that's going to work. And speaking of, sense of urgency, I saw one time specifically Andrew McCutchen, a ball go in front of him, a little bit older, more respect, and, you kind of give him more of a benefit of the doubt. But, dude, let's go. Let's go. And I'm not talking about the game-winning hit where he somewhat trotted away and it looked like he kind of gave up on the ball, which I didn't love, but I'm not acting as if he could have easily gotten to that ball. I don't like the optics of it. But there was a ball prior that landed right in front of him. Let's go! Get to the ball! If I remember correctly, I think it was the play that Francisco Lindor scored on. Like, move to the ball! You're talking about a guy on second base who can score to tie the baseball game up in extra innings. This isn't the second or third inning. Not that I would give you any room to breathe then either. Like, you still got to make a play on it. But I thought Andrew McCutchen, that stood out to me for sure as well. And look, with Aaron Nola, he was not good in that second game at all. Let's be realistic. Aaron Nola was not good. And for you to have to rely on some of your off-speed pitches because your fastball command wasn't there and you weren't in rhythm with it, you could tell that he was struggling and he was somewhat fighting with himself. It was like an internal battle with that pitch. So he would rely on that changeup. He would at least try to rely on that changeup and on that curveball, and the Mets were able to do some damage. They were waiting for it. They were understanding that it was coming, and they kind of realized the sequence there that, hey, that fastball, it's not so much in play as much, and he's not relying on it as heavily, and that's what kind of allowed the Mets to take control the way that they did. I'm not thrilled with Aaron Nola's performance. You can't win a baseball game with 0 runs. You can't win a baseball game when you don't have threats on the base paths and you can't get anybody on board. So I'm not saying that I'm going to give him a pass. It's obvious that the last 2 starts for Aaron Nola needs to be way better. He had 1 start in the beginning where he went over 6 innings. He allowed the 0-2 pitch to Pablo Sandoval that went yard, but he was phenomenal in that game prior. And he did have some nice moments, some nice strikeouts in this game. I'm not acting as if he did nothing successful at all, but I think the best way to describe it was just flat. And you could tell with his demeanor and his body language that he wasn't there in his head, and he wasn't feeling great about his pitches. He just wasn't feeling confident in his play at all. And you can see that, and the other team can smell that as well. So look, all around, Aaron Nola, if this game was 4-3, or, a little bit closer because the offense gave you a little bit more, maybe I would be harder on Aaron Nola and be a little bit more stricter on him, even though deep down I know I would roast him if the score was different because your offense was better and gave you more of a shot. But when you score 0 runs, the pitcher could be the best pitcher in the world. You can get a Jacob deGrom performance and still lose. You can get 14 Ks and allow 1 home run and still lose. So ultimately it comes down to your offense was the reason why you lost this game, even though Aaron Nola wasn't sharp. And I'm concerned for Aaron Nola over the last 2 games. Like, hey, when's he going to be able to be the Aaron Nola that we need him to be? But at the same time, it's like, dude, your offense actually was a major, major, major reason why you fell flat on your face. Spencer Howard, he went up there and you're walking the pitcher. You're hitting by pitch. You're allowing some good contact. I've been saying this for about a year now. There's something about the high pitch count. Like, you can tell me about his fastball all you want. You know who has a nice fastball? Vince Velasquez. You know who stinks? Vince Velasquez. I'm not telling you Spencer Howard stinks. I'm telling you that I don't believe in the hype of a top-end rotation guy. It's hard to come out of the pen and get into that type of situation when, you're a top prospect in this organization and you're sold to be a starting guy and you're working into this new role. But I'm just telling you, there's something about Spencer Howard that just rubs me the wrong way, and there's some alarms going off with me with Spencer Howard. I talk about the it factor in Connor Brogdon, and you can see if someone has it or not. With Spencer Howard, there's just something that tells me he doesn't have it. We'll see, though. I would love to be wrong, and I'm not writing him off. I'm not saying he can't do anything in this league. I'm not saying he's going to be a complete failure. I'm telling you, I don't feel comfortable saying that he's a top end of the rotation guy, which is what they sold you. Could he be a 4th, 5th starter, better than Matt Moore and Chase Anderson? Sure. Can he maybe be a bullpen piece? Maybe, if he grows into a role like that and changes his full-on idea and concepts, maybe. But I was sold top end of the rotation guy. I don't see top end of the rotation guy. I don't see it. Nowadays, 95, 96, that and that. Yeah, guess what? That's low. Right? I mean, that's you watch guys nowadays 100 plus, 99, 98. I'm not telling you it's not good enough. Of course it's good enough. But let's not act like, hey, just because the guy's got a high fastball, that means anything. A lot of guys have a hard fastballs, and it doesn't mean shit. All right, let's get to the next call.
We need a center fielder, and I don't mean a garbage one. I mean a good one. Clearly it's not working out. Bring Odubel if you need to. I know it's not, not ideal for a lot of people out there. But hey, you want to win games, don't you? Hell, it's Kingery. Let's get him back up. Or even try Moniak again. Anything is better than watching these guys stand there with their thumbs up their asses doing nothing.
It does seem like that's exactly what they do. How unprepared they are for a moment. Knowing, too, that they're battling for a spot. Aren't they aware of the situation? This is a chance for me to take it. This is a chance for me to say, this is mine. I'm going to play center field. Don't they want it internally? Don't they look themselves in the mirror and say, wow, look at this. I have a chance of being an everyday center fielder as long as I beat out one man. And that one man on the other side, they could both say it. They stink. Adam Hazley can look at Roman Quinn and say, you blow. Roman Quinn can look at Adam Hazley and say, you blow. So it's not as if you're trying to beat out Bryce Harper out of position right now. All right, so just to put it in perspective here, just to read the quote, this is, John Clark tweeted this out about 50 minutes ago. This is a quote from Joe Girardi. Right now, these are the guys that we have. Guys are trying to get up here. If we felt they were ready, they would be here. So now you have the manager who is very pro player and very open to making sure they don't throw any players under the bus. And if we had that option, these guys would not even be on the field. And that's saying a lot, but it also tells you how they feel about Mickey Moniak. It tells you how they feel about Odubel, how they feel about Scott Kingery. I'm with you. I'm down to try anything at this point. So if Scott Kingery comes up and he sucks, so what? Everyone else sucks too. Same with Mickey Moniak, same with Odubel Herrera. You know, I thought, honestly, I did think that they were giving Odubel Herrera a real legitimate shot to win it. And if this is the play that you're getting and they are constantly sticking with this instead of Odubel Herrera, well, then I don't think that they were ever serious. Maybe I was fooled. I thought that he had a legit shot at, if you won that battle and if you won it clean and crisp, you were going to be able to win that opening day roster spot and you were going to be able to be that center fielder. But if the alternative right now, other than Odubel, are these two bums and you're still not getting that call up, well, then there's a lot being said on how they feel about Odubel Herrera's situation. And maybe it was all games to begin with. And the technicality of, we gave him a baseball chance. He didn't win that baseball chance because of how the Players Association is with it, with the domestic violence and all that. Hey, we gave him a chance. Baseball reasons is why he's not here. It's baseball reasons. And knowing how they talk to the media, of course he has a chance to win the battle. Like maybe it was all a smokescreen and some of us actually got sucked into believing it. So I mentioned how bad it was on the top four guys in the first game. Here's your top four guys in the second game. Matt Joyce led off, and they gave Andrew McCutchen the second game off. He went 1 for 3. Reese 0 for 3. Bryce 0 for 3. JT 1 for 3. So 2, 4, 3, 6, 9, 12. 2 for 12. 2 for 12. Is that good?
What the hell was that? Seriously, what the hell was that? Okay. Game 1, they lose by the stupid seven inning runner on second rule, which I hate. I can't stand. That's fine. But Game 2, you can't get a single run with the kind of lineup that you have. You can't get a single run. I'm sorry, but this just seems like the same old Phillies to me. I know it's early, but this is the kind of two-stretch game that is going to be a momentum swinger that could tank us and lift them up. And they better come out and win tomorrow, because I'm not going to allow this team to drop at 3 or 4 games to the Mets.
Yeah, that would be damaging for sure. But I think we also need to keep in context, too, while this is unacceptable, there is a little bit of me that just like reminds myself during this time. There's a reason why the Braves over-under were set over 90. There's a reason why the Mets over-under were significantly higher than the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, that doesn't excuse the poor performance that they did have with the bats and that they're not able to see the baseball at all. I'm not saying that means it's an excuse and, like, I'm accepting of it. But there is a bit of me that's like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's objectively look at this. There's a reason why we think of the Phillies as an 86-87 win team, right? When you assess your team that way, and that's what you think they are, this is what you get when that is true. So if this team truly is 86-87, these are the losses that you get into a season. These are the type of performance that happen more times than not, because there's a reason why you're only a handful of games over 500. You're not a 90-95 win team. Those squads, most likely, look, there's going to be some times where you do lose a series and you do get swept and things like that. Like the Braves. The Braves are going to win an obnoxious amount of games, and they got swept by the Philadelphia Phillies to start the season. That's inevitable. That occurs. You go through the ups and downs, and there will be valleys and there will be peaks. But if we objectively looked at this team as 86-87, these type of losses, these type of 2-game sets, like in a day, a doubleheader, and all, like, that's what happens when you are an 86 type win team. This is reality of the situation. So I try and separate the two, understanding that this is a part of it, and then the other side is why I love doing this, why I love a baseball season is I love the emotional roller coaster. I enjoy getting excited when you get a monster walk-off, when you get a big home run from Bryce Harper, and then the other side is, I weirdly, like, enjoy the frustration moments, and, like, that's all part of this thing, is experiencing the long season and getting upset when the Mets beat you the way that you do because you hate the Mets. You hate their faces. You can't stand seeing Pete Alonso. You can't stand seeing Dominic Smith. You can't stand seeing Conforto's face in that stupid guard that he leans into pitches with. All of it annoys you. So when that happens, you're not saying, well, I don't care because they are going to lose games. Like, no. But you do recognize that at the same time. I hope that makes sense. But you can separate the two. So you can still react emotionally, but also, like, yeah, it makes sense at the same time. But, yeah, I mean, it's got to be better than this. Offensively, to get back on track here, it's got to be better than this.
Let's try this again. Should have won that first one. As I was saying, we needed to get 2 in the top half of that 8th. We failed to do so. In that second game, once Nola fell off, he could not get back. Thankfully, it's only about 11 or 12 games in, and the full season is about 14 and a half times that. And Zach Wheeler needs to pitch like an ace tomorrow, and there's no doubt in my mind that he can. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Zach Wheeler definitely can, although he's coming off of a poor outing. You could make the argument that he was getting squeezed and he was getting hosed, which forced him to kind of change some of his pitches. Like, we looked at it as if his fastball command wasn't there. And it wasn't. Let's be realistic. It wasn't. But was it not there? Because once you start getting squeezed the way that you do, you got to make an adjustment based off of the strike zone on that night. And then that played with his head. It toyed with his mind. It toyed with his game plan. And then he kind of got thrown into a loop. And then from there, he could never really get back on track and be the Zach Wheeler that we needed to be. If it was a different strike zone, would that fastball command technically be there if those pitches were in play? But, I mean, look, I know that umpires are going to be all over the place and different guys have different strike zones, but I guess maybe I just need to get readjusted to baseball again, but these strike zones are just all over the place, no? I just feel we've gotten so inconsistent umpiring behind the dish. It happens on both sides. I'm not making it seem like it's a Phillies problem and the Mets are getting away with it, or it's a Phillies problem and the Braves are getting a different strike zone. Both guys have to work with it. Who was it in the first game? Was it Walker? Oh, yeah, by the way, how about Walker at the beginning of the game? My God, just mowing people down. You couldn't even get a foul tip on this jerk-off. They were just swinging and missing. Down, 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 and down. Guys were just going down nonstop. I believe it was Walker. I don't think it was when they went to the bullpen. I might even have it in my notes. I might have wrote it down exactly who said it. So anyway, I can't find it specifically, but what it was saying was, that's low, or that's not low. That's not low. They were freaking out at Joe West behind the dish. That's not low. And to be honest with you, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was perfectly placed, and it was just a bad call. So anyway, I'm just defeated inside. I just thought today was going to be such a more entertaining day, and it wasn't. It was not. Before I let you out of here, though, I do need to tell you about my friends over at DraftKings. Basketball teams are entering the final month of the regular season as they gear up for the playoffs. While some teams are locks to make the playoffs, others are still fighting for their opportunity to chase the trophy this summer. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you in the center of the action with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. Turning $1 into $100 is simple. Pick any basketball team to win their next game. And if during the game the team of your choosing hits a 3, you bring home $100 in free bets. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. If the basketball team of your choosing hits a 3, that's code Brodes to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only, restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I want to thank everybody so much for listening, and the best thing about baseball is you get a chance tomorrow to redeem yourself. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.